Hello, viewers of The Pioneer. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to compile the developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. In a moment, we will convey the latest developments to you with a map. As we mentioned in our last report, the Ukrainian armed forces are conducting a very successful defense operation, as well as carrying out critical attacks in order to recapture the lost positions. Especially the Kherson front line will be one of our focal points again today. The events in the direction of Krynki on the Kherson front line have been on the agenda of the international press in recent days. While talking about the region, we have often reported that the Ukrainian army is not attempting to advance here for the time being, that this is the right move. Our reports have been confirmed once again. So let's start with the map, where we examine the expert opinions on the Kherson front line and the latest situation on the front line. Before moving on to our map report, I would like to make a small reminder. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and agenda reports prepared by the Pioneer team. Also, don't forget to use the Super Thanks button to support us. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. You can see the Kherson front line on the map. We often talk about this area. During the Ukrainian army's counterattack, this region was not on the agenda much. However, after the counterattack, we started to hear the name of this region frequently, especially the Antonivka and Krynki directions are very important. The clashes are generally concentrated at these 2 points. As we have reported in our previous reports, the Marines of the Ukrainian armed forces stations in Krynki are striking Russian troops with the hit-and-run attacks. Until now, there were no reports about Ukrainian presence in the region. However, according to the international sources, the number of the Ukrainian Marines stations in the vicinity of Krynki does not exceed 300. Moreover, the area of the Ukrainian bridgehead in the area is about 1 square kilometer. Again, according to the international organizations, there are intensive Russian attacks on this area. Moreover, these attacks are quite multi-layered. However, despite this, the attack units of the Russian armed forces have still not achieved results. According to reports, every attack attempt of the Russian army for 3 months has been successfully repelled by the Ukrainian army. In addition, artillery support and drone support to the Ukrainian Marines in this region from behind the front line has created a defense shield around the Ukrainian Marines. The reports of the international sources are also confirmed by the developments on the front line. According to the latest reports, the Marines of the Ukrainian armed forces were again subjected to attacks by the Russian army. However, the bridgehead is still under the control of the Ukrainian Marines. The latest attack were also stopped thanks to the artillery fire of both the Ukrainian Marines and the Ukrainian army. Let's continue by mentioning the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Dniprovsky, Velotensky, and Permyvsky and Bilozorsk. In contrast, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted Olapristan, Kokhani, Oleshki, and Pidilizny. Now let's look at the Robotny sector of the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, units of the Russian armed forces carried out intensive shelling west of the town of Robotin. However, this shelling did not affect the Ukrainian troops very much. According to reports, the infantry units of the Russian armed forces which attacked after the shelling were repulsed by the Ukrainian defense forces. A similar situation exists in the Verbov. Here, we see that the Ukrainian armed forces carried out a bombardment and launched operations against the Russian positions in the region after this bombardment. However, the front line in the region remains largely stable. Let's continue with the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian positions in Kamenskoye, Pyatykhatki, Malotokmakcha, Bilorohi, Charnov, and Krasnaya. In contrast, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted Russian armed forces positions in Zhorobyanki, Kopani, Novoprokopivka, Verbov, and Dorozhenka. Let us briefly mention the latest developments in the Vuhledar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, there is an ongoing pressure of the Russian armed forces in Yurkhain and Stromayersk. This pressure has been going on for some time. However, this still have not achieved results. The Ukrainian army is largely holding its positions. Apart from that, the Vuhledar sector of the Zaporizhia front line is quite calm. Let us also briefly mention the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Kherson, Mayorsk, Makarivka, and Blahodatny. In contrast, Ukrainian artillery units targeted Zavidny Bazhania, Volyatny, Priyodny, and Reminivka. Now let's take a look at the latest developments on the Donetsk front line. According to the latest reports, on the Donetsk front line, units of the Russian armed forces tried to advance southwest of Novomikhailivka. The settlements of Novomikhailivka itself is under heavy artillery and air strikes. However, there is still limited Ukrainian military control in the area. We observe that the resistance to the Russian attacks has not yet ended. On the other hand, Russian troops supported by long-range weapons carried out a series of offensive operations in Gorogorivka and Volskoye, the town itself near the coke factory from the northeast of Novobakhmutovka, which is controlled by the Ukrainian armed forces. However, the Russian army fails to make any major gains in these offensives. The front line remains stable. Let's also look at the artillery activity in that region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Konstantinivka, Pobeda, and Karmenka. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted Russian positions in Slavny, Donetsk, Volyatny, and the village of Krasnogorovka. We continue with the Bakhmut front line. According to the latest reports, on the Bakhmut front line, units of the Russian armed forces supported by artillery continued their attacks on the dominant hills northwest of Klishchivka. However, the Ukrainian army managed to repel most of these attacks. On the other hand, Russian troops also attacked the dominant hills near Bogdanivka. However, there is no results here either. Ukrainian troops continue to hold their positions. Now let's look at the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian positions in Andreevka, Gorogorivka, Supernoe, and Brechnikamenskoye. On the other hand, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces deployed in Bakhmut, Yagdonoe, Berhovka, and Yakovlevka. So now tell me, what do you think? What do you think is the reason for the stagnation on the front line? What strategy do you think that the Ukrainian army should adopt? Do you think the Ukrainian army will be able to advance again? What do you think about the inability of the Russian army to advance on the front lines? Let me know in the comments. I read and I care about all your comments.